Hey guys, so it's been a while, and I've been getting lots of questions from people, especially incoming freshmen, who are faced with the textbook game. Now, the textbook game is what I like to call the game that all students play right before the beginning of a semester or a quarter when you get that list of textbooks that you need to buy, and you're thinking, holy crap, I'm not going to be able to feed myself for the semester because I have to spend hundreds of dollars on these textbooks. And then you're faced with a plethora of questions regarding where you should buy your textbooks, when you should buy your textbooks, do you even buy the textbook, etc., etc. Instead of answering all these questions over and over again when my friends ask them to me, I figured I would just make a video with some frequently asked questions that I've been getting and just answer them all at once. And I'm going to arrange these in hopefully a useful order to you guys, and then put a link to the description down below in terms of when I start answering each set of questions. So the first set of questions would be the generic, when do you buy your textbook? So this answer is quite simply, it depends. And what does it depend on? It depends on the class that you're looking at. So for instance, these are the questions you should be considering. 1. Are you waitlisted for the class? 2. Is this a class that you definitely need? 3. Is this a textbook that will be useful to you in the future? And 4. What kind of textbooks are in the class? If you're waitlisted for the class, I would not recommend buying the textbook in advance. I would recommend waiting until you actually find out whether or not you're in the class before you decide what to buy the textbook. If you're in the class already, so if you're enrolled in a class and you know that this is a class you definitely need, then you might consider buying the textbooks in advance. Okay, so let's say that you are enrolled in a class, and it is a class that you need either for your major, or it's a prereq, or it's a class that you're definitely going to be taking, and you know that this textbook will be useful to you in the future, then yes, go ahead and buy the textbook in advance to taking the class. Now, if this is a class that you're taking for, say, a breadth requirement, or a class that you're not that interested in, or maybe a class that you're taking pass-fail instead of for a letter grade, then you might also consider just waiting until the semester starts. And I say this because I have had the lovely pleasure of being in a class where I bought the textbook in advance because I felt like being a smart, diligent student, and then I showed up to class on the first day, and the professor literally told me, or rather she told the class, oh, you know that book I put on the syllabus? Yeah, we're not going to be using that book. Thanks. I just spent $80 on a book that I'm not going to be using. Awesome. Or even better, when the professor says, oh, that book that I made you guys buy that was $120, yeah, I'm not actually going to be testing on material from that book. All the test material is going to be from lectures, which I can just use my slides for. AKA, I did not need to buy that book. So, only buy the book in advance if you either A, know where you're going to get it, or B, know that you're going to have to use it in the class, or at least later on in your career. Now, I'm an English minor, which means that many of my English classes involve a list of roughly 10 small books, and they're all novels or novellas or something like that. And these might be better to order online because, well, you know you're going to get a better deal than at the bookstore, and you know that it's going to take a couple weeks for those books to get to where you are, especially if you're ordering them used, which I will talk about more later. So if you have one fat textbook and that's all you need to worry about, then yeah, there's no worries in saving it. Like, you really don't need your textbook on the first day, and sometimes even maybe the first week of school. So don't freak out too much. It's okay. Don't be so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed that you end up losing a lot of money. Question number 2. Where do you buy your textbooks? Now, there are many options in this age. Do not be pigeonholed into the student store. In fact, I would recommend not going to the student store at all if you can help it, because the prices there are going to be way more expensive than you're going to find anywhere else. So what are your options? So 1, student store. Don't do that unless you're renting, which I'll talk about later. 2, online. And this is probably the most popular option. You can find so many things online. There are a lot of online comparison websites for different books, and I'll put a link to those websites down below. And these are websites where you'll go to the website and you put in your book ISBN number or whatever, and it'll come up with a list of perhaps like 5 popular websites online, and it'll compare the price that the book is selling at for each website, and you can probably find the best deal there. But two, there are also a lot of things online for PDFs versions of the books. So PDF versions, some people like them, some people don't. I personally have not really used PDFs, but I can tell you under what circumstances they would be useful. So if this is a book you're going to be annotating, highlighting, or otherwise critically analyzing, for such as for an English class or for a humanities course, might not be the best idea to find a PDF for it because you won't be able to get that hands-on usage of the book. But that being said, if this is going to be a textbook that you can just reference back to later on in the semester, then you might actually prefer getting a PDF because you can just do the Control F feature on the computers and find out whatever phrase it is you're looking for, whatever definition it is you're looking for, and you don't have to paw through the book or pray that it's in the appendix when you have it. But the beauty of online websites is used books. These you can find online at any website that sells books such as like Amazon or half.com or AbeBooks. Now you have to be careful though with used books. You don't want it to be too used to the point where you can't actually use them when it's your turn. So look at the description that the people put for the books. If it says something like, this book is acceptable, it's not actually acceptable, not for your purposes. If they say highlighting, bent corners, water damage, cover falling apart, probably not the best idea unless you just don't care about this class at all. I would go for a recommendation of good, so that would be like light highlighting, maybe some writing, or lightly used, or like new, or whatever your price range is. What kind of book should you buy? Should you buy new, used, or renting? So the circumstances in which you're going to buy new books is very low if you can avoid it. So new books are shiny and they're pretty and they're beautiful, but they're also really, really expensive. And if this is a class you're only going to be in for a few months, do you really want to drop $300 on that textbook? I don't think so. But if this is a class that you're going to be using, or if this is a book that you're going to be using for the rest of your career, then you might consider getting a new book because you know that you're going to be the one using it and you don't want to have someone else's highlights and annotations already in it. Now, renting. There are pros and cons to renting. Obviously, the pro would be that it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than buying a book, that's for sure. And it's no stress because you don't have to worry about your book after the semester's over. You don't have to worry about selling it back or trying to find some purpose for it, whether it's a table stand or just a coaster or something. You don't have to worry about it later. It's done and you just walk away free. But the con could be you could lose out on money. If you're buying a textbook and you're renting it, you could actually theoretically sell back that textbook. So when you're looking at the price of the book, you have to consider how much it actually is, but also consider how much you can sell it back for, because the difference is what you actually paid for the book. So you don't want to spend $50 renting a book that you could actually buy for $70 and then sell back to someone for $50 and then have only spent $20 on the book. So consider renting to be an option, but definitely consider what kind of books that you're using. Now, what kind of books would be best to rent? So these would be books that I think at least this is my opinion, these are books that are custom editions. So this would be books that, say your professor is like, oh, I'm going to make my own very special copy of this book and I will only use it for this semester and you're just stuck having to buy it. Then I would rent the book because there's no chance of you selling it back later for a profit if you manage that, or just to, lower your cost. Or if you have bunches of smaller books that you won't be able to sell back. So this, I often use English classes because I've experienced a lot of English classes. If your professor has their own unique reading list and you know that it's going to be very hard to sell back Moby Dick to someone else later on in the future, because everyone owns Moby Dick, let's be real, then you might consider renting the book. Especially if you're not going to be reading Moby Dick in the future, there's really no point. You can just rent it for like $5 or something, and that would be the only situation in which I would consider going to the bookstore, because while online renting is also great, it's a lot more difficult to return the book online than it is just to go to your bookstore and drop it off. Okay, and the fourth section, how to sell your books back. So this is after you have your books, the semester's over, and you're thinking, now what do I do to recuperate some of my losses? Well, there are many ways to sell your books back. You could do the old-fashioned way of or I say old-fashioned, but it's using the internet. So you could just post it up on the internet and be like, hey, I'm selling this book, go on Amazon or something, and then continue the circle of life for books. Or I think this might be a better idea is if you go online, oftentimes different universities will have a Facebook group or something of the sort that says, for instance, for Berkeley, we have a textbook exchange Facebook group. And this is pretty simple. You post your picture of your book online and you post a description of your book and you put it on Facebook, and so everyone in that group is theoretically someone from Berkeley. So you're selling directly to people in your college, and you can arrange lower shipping costs because you can just arrange to meet them on campus. And I think that might be the best way to sell back books nowadays. You can also sell them back to your friends, but sometimes people will be nicer to their friends and give them a lower price. So if you're trying to recuperate your losses, it might be best just to sell it to some random person online. But there is also the book buyback programs that schools have. You'll have to look into that yourself. I think each school kind of has a different spiel for them. But from my experience, I think you can sell back your books to a fellow student for a better price than the bookstore will ever give you. As you can tell, I'm very jaded by the bookstore. Okay, so I answered most of the questions that I received from my friends. I hope this was helpful to you, and if you have any future questions, you can ask me. Just comment down below or send me a message, or if you know me in real life, just ask me in person or on Facebook or something. And hopefully I'll be able to make more of these question and answer videos in the future. I'll put links to useful websites below. I've experienced a number of them, and hopefully you can use them as well. And just any general questions you may have, feel free to throw them at me, and I'll try my best to help you out. Okay, cool. So school's starting. I haven't even bought my textbooks yet, even though I just made this whole video about them. But hopefully everything will go well, and I hope you guys all have a great first semester, if it's your first semester, or just a great semester, quarter, year, day, whatever in general. And I will see you soon. Okay, bye.
Are you kidding? That was a picture?
No, it's recording. You good? Oh, where'd you go? Hold on. Where did you go? Oh, Edward. Such a darling. How you doing down there? How's it going? Where are you going? Okay, bye!